It is the hour of class struggle, meaning the people against the oligarchy, the people against the finance oligarchs. The people are the majority. That's what we just saw in Iceland. Let me call your attention to my new improved website, tarpley.net. Tarpley.net is the ticket, and there you find an important document in this struggle, a call to the people of the world to support Iceland against the financial blackmail of the British and Dutch governments and the IMF. And this is written by an extraordinary person, a very gallant lady, Birgitta Jónsdóttir. She is the leader of The Movement, a parliamentary group in the Icelandic parliament, the Congress in effect, which emerged out of that mass strike process of demonstrations in late 08, early 09, as the London and Hague governments, that is Tony Gordon Brown and the infamous Balkenende, the neocon there in Holland, with the backing of the IMF and Barroso of the European Commission and the infamous European Central Bank, tried to extort, to blackmail $6 billion from Iceland to pay off these debts. And as Thorarin Einarsson just said, the goal is to reduce Iceland to a colony, a plantation. There'll be the Anglo-Dutch Iceland Company alongside the Falkland Islands Company, and people living there will essentially be slaves of that entity. In other words, a new British East India Company. Why not? So this is a stirring call to resist, and Birgitta Jónsdóttir appeals to the people of the world that to support Iceland, because this is now the key front. And she's got links there to leaks on Wikipedia. Follow those up, and you want to see how the IMF and the finance oligarchs operate. There have been a lot of leaks coming out of the Icelandic parliament about what the IMF has been up to in their negotiating tactics. Take a look at that important statement, and I think you're going to be hearing quite a bit from Birgitta Jónsdóttir, actually, I should say, and indeed from Ögmundur Jónasson, the former health minister, who was in the current Social Democratic Green government but quit it because he, in good conscience, could not advocate the policy of paying debt to London and The Hague under the IMF and European Union auspices. So now let's just go back for a second to this question of Obama. Monday was the day of at least some glimmer of hope, as we heard Obama White House probing rogue network of moles behind the Christmas Detroit Patsy fiasco, according to Richard Wolff of MSNBC. And, of course, then on Tuesday, Obama held this large meeting with 20 top bureaucrats, the entire military, security, intelligence, State Department crew. And after that came out and essentially punted my article, Obama flubs his first Bay of Pigs moment as terror moles escape the purge. And that was Obama's speech in the afternoon of Tuesday, January 5th, where he says there's a catastrophic breakdown in U.S. intelligence procedures. We had more than enough information to round up this patsy who was sent in, this Mutalab. The CIA and the State Department had been told in Nigeria more than a month before that the guy was a dangerous radical, probably at a camp in Yemen. The British had banned him, no visa for him, can't go into Britain, put on the British watch list, can't get in that way either, and the U.S. does absolutely nothing. Hillary Clinton's State Department should have pulled his visa. They did not. Hillary should resign. Napolitano, her crew failed. They've been failing all week. Napolitano is the one who couldn't even tell failure when it stared her in the face. She should be fired. Then we have Dennis Blair, Director of National Intelligence, intelligence czar, and his right-hand man, Michael Leiter of the National Counterterrorism Center. They're the ones who are supposed to connect the dots, right? Especially Leiter at the National Counterterrorism Center. Well, if you read the New York Daily News of yesterday, Thursday, you'll see that this is the ski bum. Leiter is the guy who cared so little about this that he went on his ski vacation and stayed on the slopes, even when the U.S. was under attack by these patsy legions deployed by the secret government or rogue network. So Blair should be fired. Leiter should be fired. Napolitano fired. Clinton fired. Robert Mueller, his agent. agents are up to their usual tricks, intimidating witnesses, suppressing evidence, the kind of stuff we saw after 9/11. Oh, my God, fire Mueller. This is now the question not just of the well-dressed Indian that accompanied Muttalab to the gate in Amsterdam, but also the orange man who showed up in Detroit who was arrested by the FBI, and they're not willing to tell us who it was. Take a look at that MLive website in Detroit, Michigan for all the stuff about that one. Who else can we mention? We should, of course, mention Leon Panetta of the CIA. His crew got a direct warning, did not act, fire Panetta. We could go through the list. So many moles. Again, I don't know if these are all moles or whether they're incompetent bunglers. And in terms of what Obama would have to do, it's not much different. You got to fire them. Fire them, and you know that you'll either be getting a bungler and a failure or an active mole. And that's the question. Obama then appeared yesterday, Thursday, once again, saying, the buck stops here with me. The buck stops with me. Well, that's very, very foolish, Obama. You will now be blamed for the failures of the moles and the bunglers that you have put into office. And I always leave the door open. The possibility of human redemption through the exercise of free will persists as long as the subject remains in this world. And therefore, there is never the last word about this stuff. And I don't have any sympathy for sort of circular arguments, fatalistic, deterministic, defeatist arguments that nothing like this ever happens. Things sometimes do. There were some people in the White House Monday night who had a different idea. Right? There was a glimmer of something there. Unfortunately, then, once Wolf had gone on television, and maybe that was the goal of what he did, a blowback then took place behind the scenes, and by Tuesday night, Wolf was backtracking like mad, Olbermann backtracking like mad, with Wolf saying, well, in effect, Obama has closed off this avenue of inquiry by declaring in the choice of screw up or conspiracy, or cock up or conspiracy, as Wolf insists on putting it in his dialect. Obama chose screw up. He said it was a screw up and the buck would stop with him. Now, yesterday evening on the ABC Nightly News, we had Brian Ross, however, mentioning, along with Stephanopoulos and Diane Sawyer, this question of the Bay of Pigs. And maybe that was inspired by my own distinguished article on the subject, which you can see at tarpley.net, that Kennedy, of course, had been shocked by the incompetence of Alan Dulles, Richard Bissell, Cable, and the rest of these people. He learned that lesson from the Bay of Pigs. He then proceeded to fire Alan Dulles, top secret government operative. That was a direct hit. There you got somebody who was an absolute functionary of the secret government and had been since World War I. Got him out. Bissell out. Bissell being the head of the CIA clandestine services. And then the Cable. And, of course, Cable's brother is part of the terrible revenge of the rogue network against Kennedy in Dallas. It's also known that if Kennedy had been reelected in 1964, another firing would have occurred. J. Edgar Hoover, secret government operative. Everybody looks at J. Edgar Hoover with his well-known shenanigans and perversions and says, well, how could he stay there? He stayed there because the secret government to which he belonged kept him there. Kennedy would have ousted J. Edgar Hoover. You get the idea. Is Obama capable of this? I don't know. It doesn't look good, but stay tuned.